Rebecca holds Hope in a rocking chair, telling her a fairy tale about their lives, the happenings of the first season, and that the king, Klaus, and his noble brother, Elijah, will not rest until their enemies are vanquished and Hope can reunite with her family and live happily after ever. Elijah is at an abandoned building talking with a few men. The Guerreras want to turn it into a casino, but Elijah tells them that under the Preservation Act of 1966, they cannot allow the Guerreras to demolish one of the city's original foundries. Klaus throws one of his canvases across the room, wanting his enemy's blood instead of being holed up doing artwork. He needs to act. Elijah tells him he's found the last of the 12 rings forged with his blood. The men he was talking to at the abandoned building had those rings on their fingers. Klaus smiles. Elijah wants to act just as soon too, because he's worried about Haley. Haley is in the bayou, at the camp which is now empty. She picks up a doll, and she gets emotional. Marcel and Cammy are physically intimate, but Cammy wants no strings attached. She tells Marcel he's not missing much on the other side. The Guerreras have the werewolves on every corner, and the humans who know about the supernatural do not care as long as the money from tourism keeps coming their way. Cammy also tells him Davina is back in high school. Davina is at a music store, buying ancient Icelandic folk music. She sees a boy, Caleb, and they smile at each other. Oliver comes in. The other harvest girl, Cassie, has been making the werewolves' moonlight rings. Oliver outs Joe Dalton, the store owner, as a vampire. Oliver and a few other werewolves try to attack him, but Davina uses a pain infliction spell. Francesca is upset that a witch got in the way of Oliver and the werewolves killing Joe, but Cassie says Davina is not in their coven anymore, so the rules don't apply to her. Francesca still wants the rules to apply to Davina. Francesca is worried, because Klaus has not set foot outside his house in months and all the waiting is making her lose her mind. She's paid the witches and werewolves to protect her, and she tells everyone who aren't paid to protect her to leave. Cassie, who is really Esther inside Cassie's body, praises Klaus and Elijah's impressive strategy of making Francesca crack under pressure. She says Francesca will be her own undoing, but is looking forward to seeing how impressive her sons are when they come up against their own mother. Cammy is walking with a coffee in her hand, when two werewolves come up behind her. They don't say anything, but Cammy tells them to tell Francesca she's just trying to live a normal life. She hands them her coffee and leaves. She goes to the compound to see Klaus. Klaus swooshes up behind her, but doesn't let her see him. Elijah arrives and tells her Klaus doesn't want to see her. Cammy tells Elijah that she has werewolves watching her movements and that the city is being run by gangsters. Marcel took them out 100 years earlier, and asks if he might be up for lending them a hand. Elijah simply tells her, "Thank you for coming, Camille," and gestures for her to leave. But before she leaves, she tells him that she knows they don't believe Marcel killed baby Hope. They have a weapon across the river, they just need to use him. Elijah and Klaus agree that they like her spirit. Marcel and Josh are outdoors, with a group in front of them. Josh says it's the 20th group he's brought to Marcel, that there has to be a keeper amongst them. Marcel compels them not to be afraid, and asks them if they remember believing anything was possible as a kid, then grew up and things didn't turn out as planned, but still there was a part of them that would dream, wanting to be a part of something bigger and worth fighting for. He demonstrates his vampire strength and throws one of them, and Josh saves him. Marcel says that they'll know the offer still exists to join him and be a vampire, even though they'll forget what they've seen. Josh bets on the dark-haired girl, but Marcel doubts that any of them are up for being a vampire. Marcel wants warriors, not tough guys or tough-looking guys. Klaus arrives. He answers Josh's question on the difference. A warrior fights for what he believes in, and fights for his family. Elijah is taking apart Hope's nursery, and Haley asks what he's doing. Elijah says they need to keep up the illusion. Months have passed and it's the appropriate time. Haley objects. Elijah promises she'll have vengeance on Francesca, but Haley wants the room left alone until then. Elijah leaves. At the attic, Michael throws a stake at Davina, but Davina teases him that he can't hurt her. He can't kill Klaus until she figures out a way to save her friends. She orders him to feed from her wrist for a few seconds, and tells him that she's studied Esther's spellbook. She's close to finding out. Marcel says the Guerreras have the numbers. They have packs from all around, but Klaus says they only need to wipe out the 12 with the moonlight rings. But they can't just go out and cut off their hands, because the witches and werewolves may have the white oak stake. It went missing on the night Hope left with Rebecca. Marcel says he doesn't have it, and it wouldn't do him any good anyhow, because it would kill him too, along with every vampire they've sired. Klaus wants to attack the wolves once the moon hits its apex. Joe Dalton arrives. He fought the Guerreras back in 1925. Klaus asks if he'd like to get back in the fight. Joe asks what he has in mind. Klaus says he's been thinking the whole thing wrong. He gave Marcel a reason for him not making a move, so what about the Guerreras? Marcel realizes the werewolves don't have the stake. At the compound, Elijah says it's too risky, but Klaus is willing to gamble. Haley just wants Francesca dead. As planned, Joe tells Francesca that Klaus believes they have the stake. Cassie performs the spell to find it, but she can't. Francesca orders Joe to tell her the truth of the whole story. Joe tells her that there's a rumor it fell in the hands of the priest. 2 werewolves smash Cammie's home, and she gives them an address. Elijah, who is hiding outside her window, nods. The plan is working. The werewolves come to the place Francesca wanted to buy, but Marcel's been stockpiling wolfsbane for months. He turns on the sprinklers, and the wolves scream in pain. Haley, at the compound, does her part. Elijah is at Francesca's house and attacks the wolves there. Francesca smirks because he can't come in, but Elijah talks of how pleased he is that the city took his suggestion to protect the house's heritage status and invoke eminent domain. Francesca's smile turns into a frown. Elijah steps in, uninvited. Klaus is painting with a werewolf's blood. Elijah left Francesca to Haley. She's driving, running away, when Haley attacks. At Marcel's place, one of the women from the group comes in. She's the woman that Josh bet on would make a good vampire. Haley rips apart the nursery. She killed Francesca, but she doesn't feel better. Nothing about her, being a hybrid, is natural, and she hates it. When she was living with her pack, she finally understood the purity and nobility of being a wolf, but she killed 8 wolves before she got to Francesca, 8 of her own people. At the music store, which is now closed, Davina and Caleb meet again. Klaus blames himself for everything. If he had just accepted Haley's pregnancy instead of playing king, he wouldn't have lost his daughter. Klaus does his best to comfort Haley. He tells her that he and his siblings stood against their mother, united, and that is how they'll face all their other enemies as a family. Cammie meets her new advisor who sponsored her residency, who turns out to be Vincent, Finn possessing his body. Vincent, Finn, tells Cassie, Esther, that he's forgotten what it feels like to be vulnerable, but Cassie tells him that at least he's not in the body of a teenager. Caleb loves his new body. Cassie says their brothers did her a favor in killing Francesca. Now she can start controlling the witches and werewolves and take root in their new home. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos.